In a few hours' time, we're going to find out who the new leader of UKIP is. Nigel Farage, I guess for a few hours. He's resigned, but he's still thought of as the leader until we find out the new one, Nigel. We were hoping to speak to you earlier. You were at the UKIP's conference in Bournemouth, but you were held up. I wonder if it's because so many members were trying to get you to change your mind and stay on.
Well, it's very flattering and very nice. And I guess a lot of members are used to me being there, but, you know, things move on in life. I've been doing this for over 2 decades. I've done my bit. I've pushed the party on. We won a referendum. It's time for somebody else to take up the reins. I've seen members of the cabinet, you know, of this government, who appear to be still fighting the referendum campaign. Yes, we'll leave the EU. The question is, what deal will we get? Will we get back proper control of our borders? Will we get back our territorial fishing waters? And the only way it's going to happen is if UKIP keep up the pressure. So look, I'm stepping back from the front lines. I'm not retiring. I'm not going away. I will support whoever the next leader is, but I will also, for the first time in years, have a bit of a life as well.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Brexit, of course, Nigel, that you were so key in achieving that remarkable result that you wanted. But a couple of the things that we were promised from your campaign was that we were going to get a points-based immigration system, that we would get about 100 million to go towards the NHS. Both things that have been ruled out by the Prime Minister now since she's come into power and taken the reins. How do you feel about what you guys suggested would be the case when were we to choose to leave, and actually what's being delivered?
Well, I still think a points-based system on Australian lines is the right thing to control our borders. If the Prime Minister has a different formula, well, do you know what? If it works, I don't mind. My concern is there is a bit of backsliding. As for the money, well, look, you know, the truth of it is we are still paying in net £34 million every day. The EU costs us a fortune. The sooner we're out, the better.
You've, I know, had a lot of controversy. You and I have talked about it before, when during the general election people were worried about your health. Is it fair to make that an issue?
It's a reality. I mean, you're quite right. In 2015, in the lead up to the election, I wasn't very well. I wasn't firing on all cylinders. And yeah, of course, it leads to speculation and doubt. You're right in one way. Hillary is having a problem with her health, but equally, when she said that half of Donald Trump's supporters were deplorables, they were racist, xenophobic, I thought, do you know what? I've heard this before. This is all the stuff that was said about UKIP voters, all the stuff that was said about Leave voters in the referendum. And you know, politicians who choose to abuse huge sections of society normally pay a price. And so I think that Trump is now probably going to win this election. Do
you think, Ms Farage, Nigel, do you think we should have, our politicians over here should reveal their medical records, which is what's been happening in light of what happened to Hillary in the States, Hillary Clinton?
Do you know what? We're living in a 24-hour media. Everywhere you go, people have got iPhones. You know, they can film you having a drink or having dinner or, you know, taking your kids to school or whatever it is. I don't think it's necessary for our politicians to reveal absolutely everything about them, including their medical records. I worry that if we put too much pressure on people in politics, what will happen is good people will stop coming forward.
And just returning to Brexit, which I know it's your great passion to see through now, even though you're not leader. There's a story in some of the papers this morning that the European side of the negotiation, the EU negotiators, are going to do everything they can to make it so hard for us to negotiate a way out helpfully that we'll just give up and say, fine, we'll stay in. You know those people, you're an MEP. Is that your fear that's what will happen? And do you trust Theresa May to really see it through?
Well, I certainly saw this week some real intransigence in Brussels. They were saying, look, no deal unless you accept free movement, which clearly we can't. My worry is that the Prime Minister will buckle in the face of that. But I would just say this. Even if we had no trade deal with the European Union and we dealt on what's called World Trade Organization rules, that would still be better than the rotten deal we've currently got. You know, we are paying a fortune to be part of a club that over-regulates us and stops us being friends with the rest of the world. Even no deal is better than the current arrangements. But I think in the end, the Europeans will see sense. After all, We are their biggest export market in the world, and they sell us far more than we sell them.
OK, Mr Farage, Nigel, thank you very much for joining us, from finding your way to the live spot eventually. Enjoy today. I imagine you can sit back with a smile on your face and,
I will.
and watch the proceedings happen, and we'll look forward to finding out who the new UKIP leader is. Thank you for joining us.
17 million people have voted for Leave.
Yep.
Based, I don't know how many people voted on the basis of that advert, but that was a huge part of the propaganda. You're now saying that's a mistake?
We have a £10 billion a year, a £34 million a day featherbed that is going to be free money that we can spend on the NHS,